Welcome to another episode of The Michael Maloney Show, where we take you on a journey around the world, exploring the stories of successful individuals and learning from their achievements and struggles. Join us as we delve into the why and how behind their accomplishments and discover how to live a more fulfilling life. Well, yeah, Mike, pleasure having you on today. I think I first met you. I don't know if we've actually ever met in person. I think we were connected virtually by Jessica Corcoran of, I always have a hard time with that, with Business Leadership Network. But anyways, anybody listening, Michael is like the go-to guy when it comes to podcast. I first started my podcast probably maybe 2 or 3 years ago. And the first 2 years of it was very inconsistent. You know, I, like a lot of podcasters, I had the issues where, you know, I had the vision. I wanted to get my message out there. I wanted to give the people that come onto my podcast a platform to be able to speak from, but I didn't know how to do everything. I could record, but I couldn't. I had a hard time going in and editing and then releasing the episodes to like there's so many different platforms. You have Google Music, or Google Video, there's YouTube, there's Spotify, there's like Anchor, there's all these different places. So what I'm getting at is it's pretty complicated. And I was telling Jessica about this, about how I was having a hard time. And he's like, well, hey, why don't you reach out to this guy named Michael Fritz? He goes by Fritz. And I'm like, wow, you know, I should. And then the first time we met Michael, I was like, man, this guy is down to earth. He's so easy to talk to. He's understanding. He sees where I'm coming from. He's a beacon of knowledge. And since then, literally, like, it took me like a month to think about how I wanted to go about it. But once Michael sent me his pricing, a month later, I signed a contract, and here we are. He's doing all my editing, doing all my posting, and everything's been going really well. So if you personally are doing a podcast, please reach out to Michael. But I know that was a long opening, but Michael, thanks for coming on today. I really look up to you, and I appreciate you coming on my show, brother.
Anytime, man. I mean, this is literally the first meeting I've got today, and I'm just like showering in awesome compliments. I'm like, this is a great way to start a Tuesday, bro. Thank you. Much appreciated. Much love.
If only every day started like that, right?
I know, right? It's like, man, I could retire early if I start the day off with a compliment like that.
Yeah. So, Mike, when did podcasting take off? Or like what? Because you obviously have a great plethora of knowledge when it comes to it, and like the right way of setting things up and like everything, the dynamics of the episode, all that. So like, how'd you get into it, or why are you so passionate about it?
Well, I got into it in July 2019, and originally when I started my own show, it was a vanity project, honestly. I was like, I've got an opinion and the world needs to hear about it, right? And I didn't realize what kind of journey I was going to get ready to embark on, but I also didn't realize, much like everybody else also didn't realize, but 2019 was like right before COVID, and so I had started this show, and then February, March of 2020, podcasting became super popular, and it became popular enough that I started making more shows. Well, then I got myself painted into a corner, and I'm like, oh shoot, I got all these episodes. Kind of like the situation you were in, right? Where it's like,
Yeah.
what am I going to do with this backlog of episodes? And what I did was I just buckled down and said, okay, Fritz, you're an automation guy. Figure it out, right? And I started developing all these little tool sets and little scriptlets and snippets and things like that to take care of a lot of the editing process for me. And seemingly overnight, I mean, it took like a couple, 2 or 3 days to put all the little snippets together. I'm looking at this and I said, I think I've developed a revenue stream. And it didn't start really firming up as a revenue stream until late 2021 when I kicked off Podcastify Me. So it's been a wild journey. Like if you ask me, hey, what's the next year going to hold? I'm like, I don't know what next week's going to hold. Everything changes all the time, right? But that's really how it took off. It started off as more of a vanity project, and I realized that, hey, this is a great way for me to meet people. It's a networking tool. It's a marketing tool. Yeah, it's a podcast. It's content. But, man, I'm meeting hundreds of people that I never would have met ever, had I not had a podcast. So that's why I keep doing it. I like talking to people. I don't know if you know that about me, but, you know.
Yeah, definitely. You're definitely very conversational. And there's so much value in meeting people. In the last years, like when I speak on stage, I talk about how over the last few years, I've developed the 4 categories of growth, contribution, connection, and collaboration. Um, um, and connection is one of the biggest parts of that. Like the people you know, the more resources you have, the more you can create. And and I don't like using the word resources because sometimes people think like, oh, people aren't just resources. But from when you step back and look at it, people are either good or bad resources for your life. Like they're either going to bring value to you or they're going to take it away. They're either there to serve or they're there to take from you. And if you can surround yourself with enough quality people who also are into giving back and changing the world and inspiring others, I mean, like I've made business deals off of people met on my podcast. I've learned things about people that I thought I knew a lot about that I never knew. It's like there's so much value in it. And I mean, I was just talking to my buddy Seth the other day. We were at a convention and he's like going up and talking with people and he's like, "Man, this is awesome." I'm like, "I love meeting all these people." I'm like, "Dude, start a podcast." I'm like, I even told him, I'm like, "I know this guy named Michael Fritz." I'm like, "He will help you out." I don't, and he's like, "Sweet," but and even then I could sense some hesitation, and I think to a lot of people it's a little scary. It's like, ooh, a podcast. It's like, why would I? It's like where somebody thinks they're not worthy. It's like, why would I start a podcast? It's like, no, it's not about that. you
Yeah.
know
The imposter
just start.
syndrome is tricky. It is sneaky. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
sneaky.
well, and I mean, I'll tell you too, like that is you're spot on. That is absolutely the biggest reason why people don't start a show. It's not even like they don't realize how much work it is until they actually start doing it and they're like, "Oh shoot." But I mean, the thing that holds most people back is who do I think I am to start a show? Me? Like what? Like what? I could have a pod. Well, yeah, you could have a podcast. I mean, there's technology out there that makes it ubiquitous. They're just the way that platforms and tools have cropped up over the last just man 3 years, 4 years. It's nuts. Literally anybody on the planet could have a podcast. If you've got a phone, you could be a podcast host. But yeah, overcoming that initial like, what do I have of value? It's like you're a person. You have value. You have a story. There's something that you know that to you is like, why would anybody want to hear about that? Because it's the most amazeballs thing that you could share with people. Get out there and
Yeah.
talk about it, right? It's overcoming that hurdle of I'm not worthy, I'm not enough. And my answer is, yeah, you are. We all are. Even if you never do start a podcast, I mean, there's other ways for you to get your word and your message and your story out there. But you're
Start
worthy,
posting.
definitely. Yeah, posting anything, social media. I've got a friend of mine who I've known her for years, and I don't think she has written many original posts herself. Her thing is she'll get on LinkedIn and she'll comment on other people's posts. And it's like everybody knows Lila Smith. Holy moly. But it's like she hardly ever writes her own posts. Like she's
And she's making connections. It's that connection piece. There's so much value in that. Well, and I had like an epiphany just last week. I was doing a recording, and I was feeling really good about it. I'm like, I was the sentences were rolling. The entrance was good. The exit was good. We ended the show well, and it made me think. It's like, I've probably recorded, I don't know, maybe 50 podcasts now, maybe not even that many. uh, and 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 it made me think back to when I first started, and how awkward that felt going on, and I used to be like, "Welcome to the Michael Maloney Show. Today's host, I am your host, Michael Maloney." Blah 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 blah. And then since working with you, I learned like the right way to open. More like the Joe Rogan, just talk, and then your team cuts something from the middle and puts it at the front. So like just little things. I guess what I'm trying to illustrate is you just need to start and realize that anything new in life is going to be a little uncomfortable, but that's normal. And just run for it, do it, and then just start. Just get your message out there, and then you'll naturally learn over time and become more comfortable. And honestly, a lot of the driver for why I originally started this was one to get my message out there, but two to also practice speaking and talking. And I can't believe just a few weeks ago I was on stage, and then about a month and a half ago I was on stage for the Amazon Speak Up deal, and I couldn't believe how much calmer and how much better I was at thinking as I was talking. Like, because when you're speaking, you don't just mumble anything. You got to kind of stay on topic, and it needs to be kind of strategic. So, to some extent, so it's really helped me polish my speaking skills, and that's another great. There's a lot of value in that too. So, um, Yeah.
It's
But
amazing. Yeah, it is. I mean, there's a lot of little side quests and things that come up as part of being a podcast host. And like I said, you've been hitting dingers all day today. We've only been talking for like 12 minutes, man, and you're just like, boom, you're getting it. But
heck
the
yeah.
fact is, I mean, any kind of, and I consider podcasting an art form. Any kind of art form doesn't matter if it's podcasting, if it's writing, if it's painting, sculpting, whatever. Your first attempts are, when you look back, you'll be like, ugh, but the fact that you can look back and go, ugh, means you're improving, right? So,
Yeah,
I
true.
mean, my first episodes were just me opining about things, and there wasn't even really a theme or a structure to it. I'm just like, I got something to say, and the world's going to hear about it. And it's like, my mom isn't even listening to this, man. She didn't even have the internet. There's no way I'm getting an audience here. But over the years, it's done that exact same thing. I do some public speaking. I'm actually going to be giving a talk this Thursday on podcasting, Wonder of Wonders.
Well,
And
yeah.
it's one of those things where when you've got a topic, like yours is about growth, right? So if you've got a topic that you can just, if somebody's like, oh shoot, quick, oh, Mike, can you come talk about this for 30 minutes? It's like, yeah, you can go talk about it, right? And you already know that you're going to control the room. You already know that you're speaking from a place of authority, but you already also know that you've developed the skills to, talk gooder, and you'll be able to hold the attention of the room the entire time. And you know for a fact that you're going to be doing awesome. And yeah, podcasting has played a huge role in that. I would just go off on tirades years ago, and people would be like, dude, I cannot follow this guy. And he mumbles, and he's just
Same
like,
thing, man.
right? But
Yeah.
giving yourself the confidence, like as you're talking with people, to just pause, because you kind of have to. Like if you're talking with somebody, you got to pause at least to let them talk and say something, and just be comfortable with that silence. Like ask a question, and then wait for an answer. It may take 30 seconds, but that's okay. It's not awkward anymore. Man, it's
And
exciting.
and I get what you mean. It is literally awkward at first. It's almost like you're like going up and talking to, like a crush in middle school or grade
You
school.
know?
It's just like this is awkward. And then as you get to meet this person, it becomes more easy. And as you do more podcasting, it becomes more easy. Michael, what would you say for anybody listening and it's like, wow, you guys are kind of working on me here. I think I maybe should start a podcast. What do you think, even if they don't want to use Podcastify, which by the way, if you should definitely consider reaching out to Michael and talking to him about what he has to offer. But if there's like no budget and they just want to start, what would be the easiest way to get into podcasting? You
Well, I mean, I would say, like, even if we're not a fit, right? If you have no budget, I would still say go to the website podcastify.me, and at multiple places on there, there's this big pink button. You can't miss it. It says, see if we're a fit. Okay. On that page that it takes you to, there's an intake form, and the kinds of questions that are asked in that form are things that if you haven't thought about it, you probably should. So they're things like, who do you want to have be on your show? Who do you want to have listen to your show? What kinds of things are you wanting to accomplish? Like, do you want to tie it to your business? Do you want to monetize it somehow? Do you have books or workshops or courses or events that you want to sell? How does it fit into the ecosystem? And the clarity that comes from going through and listening, reading through those questions and saying, huh, I don't have an answer to that question. Golly gee whiz, I should think about that, right?
yeah,
It starts to teach you that podcast is really part of an ecosystem where you're the center of it, but that podcast is a way to bring in more of the right people. Going back to what we said before we hit the record button, when you surround yourself with the right people, magical things happen. So thinking about that is key. I mean, that's the foundation. And then once you're ready to pull the trigger, let's say, for example, you're like, I can do this myself, right? You're going to want to invest in a decent microphone, fairly cheap one. Like, I think we're rocking Blue Yetis here. These are about 149 bucks. You're going to want maybe a decent camera. This one I've got right here is a USB camera. It's like 30 or 40 bucks. But make sure you have a nice quiet environment and have a way for people to get on the show and do the recording. And then when you go to edit, try to standardize it as much as possible. Like you want to use the same intro, the same outro. You want to edit the same way, because if you have to think about it a whole lot every single time, then it's going to slow you down. Okay. And then you'll have a situation where you've got like a large backlog of episodes and you're like, well, like the situation you were in, right?
Yeah.
So make it as easy as possible on you, but yeah, take action. The first action would be think really hard about what the goals are that you want to have a podcast for, because you could do the thing like what I did and just start a podcast and not like really have any goal in mind. And yeah, it might evolve into something better later on, but if you're not intentional about it up front, you might go like 7 episodes in and be like, I'm wasting my time. Why am I doing this? Well, answer that question first, and then you'll know why you're doing it, and it'll
And
give
I
you
did that
fuel to
same
keep
thing,
going.
by the way. I
Yeah,
mean, that was literally what happened to
we
me. And then Mike, you and
we
I
all
talked
do
on the
it.
phone, and I
Yeah,
remember I'm in my office right now. My house is down the road about a mile, and I remember sitting on the gravel road out in front of the driveway and talking to you for like a half an hour.
yeah,
And we talked about all that stuff. Like, who do you want to reach? Like, who are you trying to bring on the show? And at that time, I guess I didn't realize it, but I'd never thought about that. And I gained so much clarity through those questions. Thank you for that.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
really been God brought us together, man. I truly believe that, and I'm super grateful to have you in my life because
Well,
it's
thank you, man.
like you
I
said,
really
it's
appreciate that.
you, for sure, and I mean it because what happens is when you, like you were saying, when you go into it full heartedly and it's with good intentions, you start to realize like, why am I doing this, or I'm not getting any traction, or gosh, this is a lot of work. It's taking time, and if nat in most cases, if you're the kind of person that wants to do a podcast, you probably have a lot going on in your life. Like you more than likely are probably like a go-getter, and like you want to contribute, you want to give back, you want to inspire, right? And
Hmm.
so if you live a busy lifestyle and you're trying to do podcasting and you don't have a direction and you don't know why you're doing it and you don't know who your target audience is, what happened to me, it's really easy to all of a sudden start not scheduling recordings or you know convince yourself you're not worthy. So and when you were explaining all that, Michael, about your goals, your target audience, who you want to have on the show, who you want to serve, who you want to, all that stuff, if you think about it, that's no different than a business, you
Right.
know
Yes.
literally. And it's like if a business went out and was just like, all right, we're just going to start this product, but we don't know who we're going to sell it to, we don't know how we're going to organize it, we don't know where it's going to be sold, where people are going to be able to access it, the business is going to fail, you know
Right.
whereas I just love the approach. And so many things in life, it's all about the approach, it's all about the perspective that you have before you start. And what I've found is oftentimes if you want to be good at something, if you want to excel quickly, you need to hire a professional if you can afford it, obviously. But
Right.
there's so much value in going to somebody who knows what they're talking about rather than just trying to figure it out. Like, I don't know about you, Michael, but when I was growing up, it was a lot of figuring it out. Like, and a lot of people, I think, thought that that's the way to do it. Figure it out. If you don't have the answer, just figure it out. No,
Yep.
if you don't have the answer, go ask the person with the answer and save yourself some time.
Oh, you
It's
mean we
not
can't?
lazy; it's being resourceful.
Right. Oh, you mean you can't do the thing that the guy on Duck Dynasty said, where if you don't know what you're doing, it's best to get it done as quickly as possible. Can't do that. Just jam it out there,
Oh,
man.
I've
Nobody's gonna
never
know.
heard that.
Just get it done quick. Yeah, that works until it doesn't,
Until somebody else notices, right?
and they're like, "Wait a second, what the heck?" Oh
Oh, I
man.
love it. Gosh, I haven't seen Duck Dynasty in a while. That was a funny show. I resonate with those guys very well. I'm hunters. I'm
Yeah.
naturally conservative. I don't need to talk about politics on here, but
Right. Are you a hunter? Do you
yeah,
go hunting?
I do. Yes, I'm a big hunter.
Oh,
Elk,
nice.
deer, turkey.
Oh man, elk. They didn't
Actually, I'll
have.
turn my camera. It's not a huge buck, but I shot this guy 2 years ago. That's my biggest whitetail deer to date. So that was a lot
Yeah.
of fun. And
Oh
then below
man.
it, you can see that huge sword. It looks like I'm like a gladiator. One of my good buddies gave me that for my wedding present.
Oh man. You didn't like go hunt anything with it, did you? Like, well, I'm out of bullets, so I guess bonsai.
Seriously. Yeah. What about you, Mike? Do you hunt or anything?
Every once in a while, yeah. I've never taken anything down, but I do love nature. I love going outdoors, and I actually had a really unique experience. I didn't hunt this, okay, but when my wife Charlotte and I went on our honeymoon, we ended up driving from here, St. Louis, all the way up to Jackson, New Hampshire. While we were up there, we were trying to find a Walmart, and we ended up going way far. And we're like, you know what? Let's just see where this road goes. And it's obvious we're not finding a Walmart down here. We missed a turn somewhere because we're like driving for 30 minutes. We ended up in Maine. And so we crossed the state line into Maine, and we stopped at a little tiny gas station. And the guy who came out, quintessential Maine accent, he's like, y'all lost? And I'm like, yeah, kind of. Trying to find a Walmart. I never heard of a Walmart before. I'm like, oh, Lord. You know, because I read a lot of Stephen King, and a lot of that crazy stuff happened up in Maine. I'm like, what? We're going to be killed. Like, what? So, anyway, turns out, like, we went in, and we were like, we're going to buy a candy bar or something for ourselves. And he said, are you a hunter? And I said, no, I'm not. I said, I can't even hunt down a Walmart if that gives you an idea of my ability. Well, come in. I want to show you something anyway. So he takes us to the back. There was an ice cream freezer, and above the ice cream freezer was a world record, Guinness World Record buckhead, and I think it had 27 perfect points.
Oh my
And
gosh.
he's like, I didn't shoot this. He's like, but I bought it from the guy who did. So he had a little plaque there that said, here's the guy who shot it. Here's the stats of the deer and stuff like that. I mean, it was old. And I'm looking at that and I'm thinking, there's only one of these in existence, and we found it. And that's just really cool. You know, I took
Yeah.
that lesson. Yeah,
Wow.
that's crazy. But no, I've never shot anything.
Before we continue, I'd like to take a moment to share something I'm passionate about with you. If you're someone who is constantly striving for personal growth and loves surrounding yourself with other motivated individuals, you're going to want to hear about this. Check out growthgroupinc.com. This is an exclusive community made up of high achievers and dynamic entrepreneurs just like you. It's a space where like-minded individuals come together, collaborate, and support each other on their own journey to success. Growth Group is more than just a community, it's a collective mindset, a commitment to getting better every single day. We believe in the power of connection, collaboration, and constant growth, and we're confident that being part of this community will give you an unparalleled advantage on your path to success. So take a moment, visit growthgroupincorporated.com, and join us as we elevate our lives together. Trust me, this is one investment in your future you will not regret. Now, let's get back to our conversation.
I
Just
never
out,
have.
and what's crazy about that is you were just going down the road and you're like, let's go a little farther and see what happens on your honeymoon. Like, hey, we have nowhere to be right now.
All
And then you
right.
saw that. That's
Yeah,
really cool.
before kids. Before kids, man. It's been 13 years since we didn't have kids. I've almost forgotten what that feels like.
Yeah. Isn't that crazy how you'll be having a conversation with somebody and then it'll bring up like a way old memory? It's like, I didn't even know that
Yes.
was still in my head. Like,
Yeah.
when was the last time you thought about that?
I don't know, man. It's been at least a couple years. I've told that story before, but I mean, I don't tell it near as often now because I mean, when it was right then fresh, it's like, Mom, guess what? Dad, guess what? Grandpa, guess what? Guess what? And they're just like, we've heard this 73 times, Michael. Just, we know about the deer head, all right? Okay, just, but now it's like, they're in there. And I mean, all those cool memories, they make up who we are. It's the fabric of our who-ness. It's wild.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think that's a valuable lesson right there, Michael. Going down the road, being okay with not knowing where you're going, just kind of looking for an experience. Um,
Yeah.
I think too many people just become stuck in like a cycle of wake up, eat, go to work, come home, watch a little TV, go to bed, wake
Mm-hmm.
up, blah, and then just over and over. And yeah, of course, the weekends. A lot of people live for the weekends because then they don't have to go to work anymore, and they get to experience a little bit more. But even that's pretty boring. Like they're not doing much.
Mm-hmm.
And if only people would be willing to just put themselves out there, go down that path where they don't know they're going. Maybe I don't know, just go out and explore new things. Just be open to new endeavors.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know. I think it just like you said, it brings so much more depth to life, and so much more richness. For instance, this last Saturday, and I know we're off tangent a little bit, but that's what's awesome about this is all beneficial to anybody listening to it.
Yeah.
This last Saturday, my wife and I, we had a full day. I just got back from Dallas the day before. I was at a personal development seminar, and I'm like, "Hon, let's do something today. Like, let's do something that if we do it." we won't forget it. Like 10 years from now, I want to remember what we do today. And so I have this little camper. It's like a teardrop camper, like super
Hmm.
small. All it is you open the door and there's a queen size bed in there.
Yeah.
Literally, that's all. And so, my wife, me, our 2.5 year old, and our 4 month year old all slept in that little camper. We went. There's a campground about 5 minutes from my house right here,
Yeah.
and it's a state park. And so we went. We got lucky. And actually, this is kind of crazy. I went at like 3 o'clock in the afternoon, right, and just looking to see if there were any camping spots available. There were like nothing available except for this one that was paid for. And I went and talked to the campground volunteer or whatever, and they're like, "Yeah, I don't know what's going on with that one. That one, it's been scheduled for 5 days and nobody showed up." And so I'm like, "Do you
Hmm.
mind if we go take it? And if they show up, we'll just leave." He's like, "Go ahead." So like, it was paid for, and whether that was God's doing or not, I don't know. But it was just really interesting how there were no campsites available. And then the one campsite we got was like one of the nicest campsites. It was tucked back in the corner. It gave us this nice little secluded place to spend time with the family and hang out. And dude, it was just an amazing day. And to be honest, my wife and I, we kind of got in an argument about it. She didn't want to do it, and I don't blame her. A
Yeah.
lot of people don't like camping, right? But and the idea of going and sleeping on a queen size bed with all of us and like worrying about the kids getting up in the middle of the night and waking each other up and like having to pack all the food and firewood and ice and drinks and all that stuff, it adds up. But we had the time of our lives. I mean, it was, at least I did, and I know she did. And if she didn't, she's really good at pretending. But my kids, Cal, he loved it. I mean, there's a playground there. I mean, you got to meet the neighbors, and it was just an amazing day. And I will never forget this day. And like just like you bringing up you going down the road and seeing that amazing buck, someday I'm going to tell this story to other people about how I decided, or we decided as a family, that we were going to be different and we were going to go out and experience life and not just have a normal day. And even though there was some uncertainty of how well it was going to go, and there was some risk there, we dabbled with it and we had an amazing time. And one of the best Saturdays I've had in a long time, and it was pretty much free, other than we already own the camper, right? So
Right.
I think there's some value in that. I think people wonder why they're not happy, and they wonder why they aren't gaining traction in life, or if they feel like they don't have a motive or like a reason for life. And I think a lot of that probably comes from just constantly being stuck in the ravine of work and life. And if you,
Hmm.
like, if think about it this way, if you don't get out and enjoy life, what's the point in doing all that other stuff? You
Right.
know?
Yeah. I understand. Well, and I mean,
And
the
I know
biggest
you're on the
thing
same
is,
page, Mike, because I
yeah,
see your posts. Dude, you're a
yeah.
happy, fun-loving, spontaneous. Like, tell us, doesn't your daughter, doesn't your family, don't you guys do like a farmer's market every Saturday or something like that?
Yeah, pretty close. So we do one every other Saturday, but we're real active in doing different kinds of events, pop-up shops. Like people will have us out to a coffee shop and we'll sell our products. I need to tell the folks at home here who are listening that I've
Yeah.
got two businesses. So the one is the podcasting business, and the other one is called Exactly Zero. And my wife and I got started making all kinds of clean lifestyle products. Like we started with deodorant, which is the hardest thing, and we've gone from there to make 60 plus different products. We got our journey started with 2012. I actually got diagnosed with cancer, and it wasn't like a real bad, scary kind. I tell people, I'm like, if you're a guy, like this is the kind to get, man. It's like one and done, right? You're good, right? It's easy. But it was the warning shot fired across our bow where we had to take seriously nutrition and what we consume, but also what we put on ourselves. But yeah, we're a homeschool family. We involve our girls in all kinds of stuff,
Cool.
and we're constantly making core memories, man. It's wild. It's like every aspect of what we're doing is getting out of that rut that you're mentioning. And one thing that I know is important for us as parents, as we're raising kids, we have four girls, and it really comes down to making sure people feel safe to take risk. Life is going to make you feel scared and be like, oh, I can't do that. I can't. Well, that's what gets you in that rut. It's just the day in, day out, Monday to Friday, 9 to 5, 8 to 5, live for the weekends type rut that you're talking about. And it's like, well, what is your tolerance for risk? What is your aversion to trying new things? And the lower that you the more you lower that bar and give yourself permission to do some crazy stuff once in a while, some amazing things will happen and you'll be out of that rut in no time. So yeah, I mean, literally living the dream. I know when white guys say, "Oh, yeah, I'm living the dream," it's like, oh, they're really going through it. But we really are, man. We really are living the dream, and it's amazing.
I love it. You're an
Oh, yeah.
inspiration, man, to me, and I'm sure to so many people, on podcast and anybody in your life, in your circle. I just see the way that your employees talk to you and everything, and everybody just respects you so much, Michael. And
Thank you.
when I said it earlier in the episode that God brought you into my life, I really mean that. And um, I catch myself saying that a lot. The connections that it's just amazing what happens. When you have aspirations to help people and give back to the world, amazing things happen. And um, first of all, I just want to thank God. Like thank you so much for bringing Michael and so many amazing other people into my lives because it's allowed myself and the people that are brought into my lives to impact more people, and it's just an amazing thing. It sounds so freaking cliche and corny, but it's so, and especially to somebody that doesn't believe in it. But if you believe that people are brought into your lives for the right reasons, you'll see what I'm talking about. And once
Yeah.
you start to believe that, you'll start to see it. And I think it's something to be said that if you believe that that's the case, God rewards you in that way. Like He
Yep.
propels the people who are worthy, or not necessarily even not worthy. That's not the word I'm looking for. Who are put who are aiming their crosshairs towards helping people.
Yeah.
It's kind of a
Intentional.
weird way
They're
to say it.
intentional about helping.
Yeah, there you go.
Yes.
I love that.
And
Intentional.
we thank God all the time for stuff. I mean, man, there are times that I'll wake up and it's like that wonderful hour, 3 a.m., when entrepreneurs wake up. And it's funny, it's like, doesn't matter what time zone you're in, it's 3 a.m. your time, right? And I'll have to pray through some stuff and be like, I need to get back to sleep. But I mean, there's just something on my mind. And it's like, it's amazing. God doesn't have office hours. You don't have to
Yeah,
schedule time, right? It's
isn't that
like,
crazy?
oh, and it's like, man, he's always there. And yes, there have been people that have crossed my path. I mean, of course, you're one of those people, but there have been people that came out of nowhere. And it's like, what amazing timing. It's not a coincidence. It's a God thing. And they just crossed my life at a time where I'm like, I needed to meet this person at this time in this place under these circumstances. Let's roll with it. That has happened more times than I can count. And it's crazy. It's weird, but it's almost like walking the entrepreneurial path. It's almost like God can really work in some amazing ways because we're constantly putting ourselves in uncomfortable positions, constantly taking risk, constantly saying, whoops, I painted myself into a corner. Now what? And then
Yeah.
something comes along and it's like, there is no way that I could have, I didn't have anything to do with it. I was stuck, pinned down, and it's like, this is really cool. So that's part of the reason why I keep doing what I'm doing with podcasting is because I'm meeting all kinds of cool people. I've captured business like that. Networking, helping people make connections, staying top of mind with hundreds and hundreds of people just because, hey, you're a former podcast guest. I would love to engage you on this other thing over here that I'm doing. Do you want to come? It's a great way to catch up, but I can catch up with whole clods of people. It's amazing.
It,
So, yay.
would you say that's one of the best benefits to podcasting, just meeting people, and I shouldn't say just meeting people, but the fact that you get to meet people, make connections?
I'd say it is a very, very high ranking one, right? So, anybody, any kind of business owner, one of the biggest things is like, how do I make sure I'm making connections with the right people? Well, if you start to scale up who you're reaching out to and give them a way to connect with you and have just even a 30-minute conversation or a 15-minute, 20-minute, right? They're opting to spend some of their time with you. And if you know how to build a show that attracts your ideal client profile as a guest, then that's like a lead magnet right there, right? So it's like, how do I find the people? How do I find Facebook ad? No, start a podcast. I mean, Facebook ads are great. Google ads are fine. But if you've got the ability to have engaging conversations with other people, leverage that. It's a superpower not everybody has. It might seem like I'm just talking. No, you're not just talking. You're knitting your heart together with somebody else. Not everybody can do that. Wrap a podcast around it, bring people in. You're going to have business. You will have business very quickly.
No, what else? And this was a comment I was going to say earlier. It's crazy how, or it's not even crazy. When you know, and you do the same thing, Michael. You attend a lot of like personal development conferences, a lot of the same ones I do. When you go to something like that and you meet somebody, there's thousands of people in those rooms sometimes, maybe only hundreds, but you only have so much time to talk to somebody. So a lot of times, what I've started to do is, "Hi, Michael Maloney. What do you do?" You talk, you figure out, "Oh, well, why do you do it?" And just kind of get just kind of figure out who they are as a person. And if they seem cool, I'm like, hey, excuse me, I'd love to have you on my podcast. It'd be a great opportunity for us to meet each other on a deeper level. It'd be great for my audience to hear about your struggles, your triumphs, how you do what you do, all that great stuff. Would you like to come on? And then they come on, and then you learn more about them. It's just like it's like a virtual coffee in a way.
Hmm.
And I mean, I guess anybody listening, as you've seen by now, I hope there's many different areas of value that come from podcasting.
Yep.
Your business, your relationships, your knowledge. You can improve the way that you think by learning new things. I mean, so it's not just for the person listening to the podcast. It's just as valuable for the person who's putting on the podcast. And
Yep.
yeah, man, I don't know. I guess this episode has kind of seemed like it's been like I'm trying to talk people into doing a podcast, and to be honest, that's kind of what I'm trying to do here because it's so valuable. If you see yourself as somebody who who should be out there sharing a message or talking to people, or if you want to be that person who meets more people or knows more interesting things about people, or you want to add depth to your week by talking to some new individuals, start a freaking podcast. And all you have to do is go to podcastify.me, right?
Yep.
And look for the pink icon that says "Are we a fit?" Go on there, just reach out to Michael. You've seen Michael now you've heard him talk or seen him talk for 36 minutes. He's a good dude. He's the most humble, kind, warm, fuzzy, even like his mic guy.
Fuzzy, man. Oh, I thought you were talking about my face. I'm like, man, I go one day without shaving and I get called on it. Give me a break. Yeah, Amelia made this, by the way. She makes these.
Really?
She's made like a ton of them, and she
Come
loves
on,
making them.
take my
Yeah,
money.
take my money.
I'm
Sold them on the
serious,
site,
please.
man. Yeah, yeah, get one.
I
I got
will.
that on the site too, man.
Cool.
Cause you
I'll make
cause you
sure to
got a
get
blue
one.
Yeti. You got a blue Yeti as well, right?
Yes, sir. Yep.
What's your favorite color? It's okay if it's
Probably like
pink,
red or blue.
red or blue. Okay.
You have
All
either one
right.
of them?
Yeah, we can figure something out. She's
If
got
not, whatever. Just
Man,
let me know
she's
what
got
colors you have.
tons. She has got tons of yarn, dude. There's older ladies that keep giving us just sacks of yarn, and she's like, I haven't even used the last 3 sacks you gave me, and you're already giving. Oh, I found this in the garage somewhere. Good Lord. So yeah, she's red or blue. Let us know.
So she knits them?
Yeah,
Wow.
she can bang one of these out in probably about an hour. She just goes nuts. Give her a skein of yarn, and she just and then mic cover. So yeah,
Did she make that sound?
it sure seems like it. I mean, kids have boundless amounts of time.
Yeah.
And they go, and it's like, I remember having lots of free time when I was their age and just making all kinds of crazy stuff. But yeah, her hands are just a blur.
I love it, dude.
She got them grandma hands, man.
Man, Mike, I'm so grateful to have you as a friend of mine. I'm so proud of you as the way that you show up in your business and your personal life and your professional life. You
Thank
don't
you.
meet too many people that are so humble and well put together as you. And I get it. Life isn't always what it seems, but I mean, dude, you're a great guy and just a fun, loving spirit, and the world needs more people like you.
I really appreciate that, man. It means more than you know. It's been a crazy month, and hearing this from somebody other than me telling myself this is valuable. It's like
Keep it
gold,
up.
dude. I'm gonna cry.
No, and dude, you deserve it. But hey, so at the end of the episode, I always like to give my guests an opportunity just to leave our listeners with something. And you've already left them with so much. But is there, if there's anything you could summarize, or if there's one tip or something, whether it's to podcasting or just life, whatever it may be, do you have anything? I know you do, for our audience.
I do, yeah. So has to do with life. It is okay to take risk. And the one thing I've learned over the years is sometimes when you're going through life and you're taking lots of risk, it's going to feel like you're running with scissors, but things will always turn out okay. You can do amazing things with the time you've been given, and you can experiment and do wild stuff, and you'll be just fine. Don't fall in the rut of predictability, stability. I just got to get by. I just got to get the bare minimum. You've got an abundance within you, and you can spend it on everything, people around you, the world, relationships. Take risk. It's not, I stopped telling myself, oh, what I shoulda, coulda, I don't want to should myself to death. It's like, I got here as fast as I could. I'm figuring things out as fast as I can and implementing it as fast as I can. And I don't sit around wishing that I had given myself permission to take risk earlier in life. It's just, hey, I'm enjoying it now and I'm having a lot of fun. So starting now, if you're feeling a call towards something bigger than you, listen to it, answer it, and take risk and try some things. You'll be amazed at how well things just line up and just move out of the way for you. It's amazing. Highly recommend. 10 out of 10.
Amen, man. You just gave me goosebumps. Take risk. Take risk. You have to be willing to be uncertain a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
When my wife and
Absolutely.
she didn't want to go camping, she took some risk and said, honey, let's go camping. She like switched her mode and she's like, let's do it. And then we had a freaking great day, And that's not even that risky.
I could just picture it. She's like, she's going to paint half of her face blue and be like, yeah, let's do it. It's like, listen, it's kind of like, we're not going to battle or anything. Put the sword down. Like, we're going to be fine. Just, it's just a camping trip, Freedom. It's like, too much. Slow down.
I love it.
Braveheart.
Hey,
all right.
Then just one last time, Michael, because I know you're going to have people reaching out to you. What's the best way for people to reach out to you? Whether it's maybe it's not even about podcasting, but more than likely it will be.
More than likely it will be. So, yeah, best way would be shoot me an email. My email is fritz@podcastify.me. Really
Perfect.
easy.
Fritz@podcastify.me. And then
That's right.
You also heard throughout the episode, podcastify.me is the website that you can go on and fill out the form, which will be sent directly to Michael's team. And then, you can see if you're a fit. But
Yeah.
Once again, this podcast wasn't about me trying to sell people on podcasting. Well, actually, I guess to sell them on podcasting, sort of. Like I want people I care about to know that there's great value in creating a show for yourself and for the people around you. But at the same time, if you are looking into it, like, just please do yourself a favor and reach out to Mike. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it, man.
Heck yeah, man. Well, thanks again for coming on today, Mike. It's always a pleasure. I'm sure we'll have you on again. If you see anything new coming up in the podcast world or personal development, as we attend seminars together, let me know and we'll hop back on and talk about it and, just get the knowledge out to the world. So
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
appreciate it again, man.
Thank you.
That was another episode of The Michael Maloney Show. Thanks for listening. Have a great day.